Welcome everyone, welcome to another episode on my channel. I'm Evelina, if you don't know me. I'm an ex-therapist and I help people decode their nervous system and their mind and their mental health. And I talk about everything from the perspective of the nervous system because I think that's the most sophisticated piece of technology there is, and I want you guys to understand that technology because this is where the joy is, this is where the learning is, and this is where good life is. It's encoded in your nervous system. In today's episode, we're going to answer the question, what is nervous system regulation? In other words, how do you regulate your nervous system? So I'm really glad you asked this question. I can feel that the conversation is changing around mental health, around understanding oneself, and I can see that people are trying to take control over their inner experience. Not control as to really determining and wanting themselves to be performing certain things, but control it, like awareness, right? It's all about building awareness about our inner experience. So if you are looking for the answer, what is the nervous system regulation? We need to start, why is your nervous system dysregulated? And what that means. We need to get specific here. And this is not something you can Google because it's so unique, or put into AI. This is so unique to your nervous system. This is so unique to your experience. And there is not another person on this planet who's like you, who has had exactly the same experiences like you. So your nervous system needs you to pay attention and to understand why it behaves the way it behaves. Because there are a lot of different ways to regulate your nervous system, but if you're just doing them randomly, because your nervous system is a piece of technology that everyone is trying to copy, and context is absolutely everything, and that context is you. Your nervous system is very, very specific. It has a very specific profile. So the fact that you are dysregulated, it has happened because of the very specific number of reasons, right? This is how you get to how do I regulate my nervous system? What is the nervous system regulation? Because again, you regulate your nervous system through something called a glimmer or a set of glimmers. And glimmers are very specific to each of the nervous systems. What is a glimmer to me? It can be a trigger to you, right? So I'm going to say it again when it comes to triggers and glimmers. Trigger is a thing that triggers your nervous system to go into a stress response, i.e. to be dysregulated. That dysregulates your nervous system. That's a trigger. A glimmer is the opposite to trigger. So a glimmer is something that brings calmness and sends a message to your nervous system that you are safe. Your nervous system has one job only, and it's trying to answer the question based on where you are, on your environment, on the context, emotional, mental, physical, whether you are safe. Am I safe? Am I not safe? That's everything your nervous system is trying to do. And it's trying to keep you alive. So you avoid dangers, you don't get hit by a car the minute you cross the road, right? So you've got the perception, you've got normal perception, you've got your hearing, sight, touch, etc. But also you've got neuroception. Neuroception is a perception of the nervous system. It's a surveillance system of your nervous system, of your body. So it scans your environment all the time. The fact that your nervous system is dysregulated comes from your neuroception making a decision that, based on your current situation, so what you've been through in the last couple of hours or a day, let's say, a day, right? Because sleep really resets your nervous system, has caused your nervous system to go into a stress response, i.e. anxiety or depression, more often anxiety, right? Unless you have PTSD, which is like, even though things are calm, relatively calm around you, right? And life is good, you get flashback and your body still thinks the environment in which you got stressed or abused, it's still there. So that's a different story. But usually your nervous system, in majority of the cases, doesn't care about the past really. It cares about now and the recent events. So to answer the question, how do I regulate it? You need to remove the factors that dysregulated it. And what I understand and see happening is that people have completely no awareness, and certainly that was the case for me. Even though I was a therapist, I wasn't aware of my nervous system needs. I was pushing and forcing and performing, right? If you live in a constant state of performative and identity, you're trying to force and hassle your way through life, your nervous system will get stressed and dysregulated. And you won't even know it. Very often it happens over years because we're so used to this, right? This is the hustle culture has the volume of experiences, if you think about it, like the number of experiences we are exposed on a daily basis, the number of environments without leaving the house. It's all at your fingertips, right? And very often you've got your telly on, you've got your phone on, you're talking to people, right? It's very overwhelming for the nervous system. So this is how, even though things are all right sometimes, you get dysregulated. Unless a tiger is chasing you or you had an argument, the rest is you've reached a threshold. Unless you're in actual danger, which physically speaking, in Western culture, no such thing. There is no physical danger unless you put yourself in a really extreme situation, which then you understand why you're stressed, right? So just like a typical day from your life, it is too much for your nervous system. So if you're trying to regulate your nervous system, think about things that you are exposing yourself to. If you need a motivation to actually limit your, I don't want to say scrolling because I don't think scrolling is that bad. Scrolling is actually very shallow, but I'm thinking about, the shows you watch, the conversations you engage with, the narrative that, it's enough to watch the news, right? It's all very soaked in anxiety, in fear, right? So then very often it's enough to give yourself a break from online world and going outside. Your nervous system regulates the fastest when you're outside. And I don't know where you live, obviously, and what your resources are, but nature is the best healer for your nervous system. It's the best regulator. You don't have to think, you don't have to plan, just go outside and keep walking. So 15-20 minutes of walking will regulate you a lot better than any amount of thinking you can do and finding a strategy or whatever. The regulation is written into your nervous system. Your nervous system wants to regulate. Think about it as healing in the moment, right? It wants to come back to the state of regulation, of homeostasis. I call it a green state, right? Where you relaxed. There are various other ways to regulate your nervous system, and they're very specific to you, but you're not going to find them out, even if you're very curious about them, without actually grounding yourself, and you're not going to find them in panic. So when you want to regulate your nervous system, first remove the factors which dysregulate it, and it's volume, excess, intensity, number of environments you're being exposed to, its force, pushing, right? A very good example of that is exercise. People who do intense exercise for too often and too much, they get themselves into a state of survival mode, into fight or flight, to keep it simple. Because their nervous system doesn't know that they want to achieve a certain figure or number of muscles or volume, whatever, right? It thinks it's in danger because when you're exercising intensely, cortisol gets released into your bloodstream. And if you don't build it gradually, and this is the only way you release stress, then your nervous system goes into fight or flight. And that shows up in different ways. So it gets dysregulated, in other words. So think about, really get intentional about what you're doing, and pay attention to intensity, volume, the speed you're doing things at. Very often just rushing. It just gets your heart beating faster, and shallow breathing, and that's dysregulation. Not sleeping enough, not eating enough, or not eating enough of the right foods, right? I can get a reaction from eating too much sugar. My heart starts to beat, I don't know what's going on, right? So these are unconscious responses, but you need to get conscious and curious. You need to become a student of your nervous system to know how to regulate it. Be curious, be intentional, and never give up on yourself. Thank you very much.